At first, I shared everything, my strategy, my ETFs, my returns. People said, teach me. But once they heard it required patience, discipline, and years, they lost interest. That's when I realized the strategy isn't the hard part, the mindset is. So I stopped trying to convince people, I just built quietly. Let me explain why silent growth wins. Most people don't want advice, they want shortcuts. At first, I shared everything, my strategy, my ETFs, my returns. People said, teach me. But once they heard it required patience, discipline, and years, they lost interest. That's when I realized the strategy isn't the hard part, the mindset is. So I stopped trying to convince people, I just built quietly. Let me explain why silent growth wins. Welcome to Hapa Mumbling. The investor whose journey we're following is named Sophia, and her evolution from enthusiastic teacher to quiet builder reveals uncomfortable truths about why most people never build. Sophia's teaching phase began in year 3 of her investment journey. She had been consistently investing $400 per month into a simple 3-fund portfolio of index funds. Her account had grown to roughly $16,000, a combination of her contributions and solid market returns. She felt genuinely excited about what she was learning and wanted to share it with people she cared about. When friends complained about never having money or feeling stuck financially, she saw an opportunity to help. The first conversation happened at a dinner party when a friend named Lauren mentioned feeling stressed about retirement. Sophia enthusiastically explained her approach: invest consistently in low-cost index funds, keep expenses low, let compound interest work over decades. Lauren's eyes lit up. This sounds amazing. Can you send me details on what funds to buy? How do I start? Sophia spent 2 hours that evening writing a detailed email with fund recommendations, brokerage account instructions, and explanations of dollar cost averaging. She felt helpful, like she was changing someone's life. 3 months later, Sophia casually asked Lauren how her investing was going. Lauren looked confused. Oh, I never actually set it up. I've been so busy. Maybe I'll do it next month when things calm down. Sophia was surprised but assumed Lauren was an exception. Then it happened again with another friend and another. People asked for advice with apparent enthusiasm, received detailed guidance, and then did nothing. The pattern repeated enough times that Sophia started questioning whether she was explaining things poorly. She tried different approaches. She simplified her explanations, focusing only on the absolute essentials. Open this specific account, buy this specific fund, invest this amount every month. Some people still did nothing. She tried sharing her actual account balance and returns to prove the strategy worked. Some people responded with skepticism, insisting there must be some trick she wasn't revealing. She tried offering to sit with people while they opened accounts and made their first investment. Most found reasons to postpone. The frustration peaked when Sophia's cousin Michael asked for investment help at a family gathering. Sophia explained her index fund strategy, and Michael interrupted halfway through. That sounds really slow. What about cryptocurrency? What about options trading? I want to make real money, not wait 30 years. Sophia explained that those approaches were speculation, not investing, and carried significantly higher risks of total loss. Michael dismissed this as her being too conservative and unwilling to take the risks necessary for real wealth. 6 months later, Michael had lost $4,000 on cryptocurrency trades and was back to zero. He never mentioned it to Sophia, but she heard about it through family. He didn't ask for advice again, not because he had learned anything, but because he was embarrassed. This interaction crystallized something for Sophia. Most people who ask for investment advice don't actually want the advice. They want validation for the approach they've already decided to pursue, or they want a secret shortcut that doesn't require discipline or patience. Sophia had another realization during a conversation with her colleague James. She explained her investing approach, and James immediately responded with objections. But what if the market crashes? What if index funds stop working? What if inflation gets worse? Sophia answered each objection with historical data and logical reasoning. James had a new objection for every answer. Finally, Sophia asked him directly, "Do you actually want to start investing, or are you looking for reasons not to?" James admitted he was scared of losing money and needed to feel completely certain before starting. Sophia gently explained that certainty doesn't exist in investing, only probability and risk management. James never brought up investing again. These experiences taught Sophia that the barrier to building wealth is not lack of information. Every piece of information she shared was freely available on the internet. The barrier is not complexity. Her strategy was simpler than most people's Netflix subscription management. The barrier is psychological. It's the inability to delay gratification. It's the discomfort with uncertainty. It's the desire for spectacular results without corresponding time investment. It's the unwillingness to look uncool by doing something boring while others chase exciting opportunities. Sophia made a decision after these repeated experiences. She would stop volunteering information about her investments. If people directly asked, she would give a brief, honest answer. I invest in index funds consistently. If they wanted details, she would share them, but she would no longer try to convince, persuade, or teach anyone who wasn't genuinely ready to change their behavior. She recognized that you cannot want financial security for someone more than they want it for themselves. The shift to building quietly was liberating. Sophia stopped having frustrating conversations where she explained basic concepts to people who had no intention of acting on them. She stopped feeling responsible for other people's financial futures. She redirected the energy she had spent teaching into increasing her own savings rate and investment knowledge. She stopped checking whether friends had followed her advice and started focusing entirely on her own wealth accumulation. Something unexpected happened once Sophia stopped talking about investing. People started noticing her differently. She never discussed money, never complained about expenses, never participated in conversations about financial stress. She lived modestly but comfortably. She handled unexpected expenses without panic. She had a calm confidence about the future that others found puzzling because they didn't see how she earned significantly more than them. The silence itself became intriguing. Eventually, a different type of conversation started happening. Instead of casual friends asking for quick tips, serious people with genuine readiness approached her privately. These conversations were completely different. They came from people who had already researched investing, already understood the basics, and had specific, thoughtful questions. They weren't looking for shortcuts. They were looking for wisdom from someone further along the path. These conversations were worth having because the people asking were actually going to implement what they learned. Sophia shared her strategy with these genuinely ready people, but even then she noticed something important. The ones who succeeded weren't necessarily the ones who followed her exact fund choices or investment amounts. They were the ones who internalized the principles: consistency over timing, simplicity over complexity, discipline over emotion, decades over months. They built their own versions of wealth accumulation systems suited to their circumstances, but grounded in the same fundamental truths Sophia had learned. By year 7 of her journey, Sophia rarely discussed investing with anyone. Her portfolio had grown to over $70,000. She was on track toward financial independence, and she had learned that building wealth quietly, without seeking validation or trying to convert others, was not just more peaceful but more effective. The energy she used to spend explaining and convincing was now spent earning, saving, and investing. The social friction of being the person who talks about money had been eliminated. Sophia reflected on why people resist simple, effective strategies in favor of complex, ineffective ones. She concluded that humans are story-driven creatures who want their success to reflect cleverness and special insight. Admitting that wealth building is mostly about boring consistency over long periods doesn't satisfy the narrative desire for dramatic turning points and brilliant decisions. People want to believe they discovered a secret or outsmarted the system. They don't want to accept that the system is simple and available to everyone, because that means their current financial position reflects choices rather than circumstances. The other insight Sophia gained was about the social signaling aspect of money. Many people discuss investing not to learn, but to demonstrate that they're the type of person who invests. Actually doing the work of investing, experiencing the years of slow accumulation and the boredom of watching compound returns gradually build, doesn't provide the same social validation as talking knowledgeably about markets and strategies. Sophia stopped needing that validation, and that freed her to actually build wealth. Looking back, Sophia doesn't regret her teaching phase because it taught her crucial lessons about human behavior and motivation, but she's grateful to be past it. She now understands that the people who will build wealth don't need convincing. They need information which is freely available, and they need time, which everyone has equally. The people who won't build wealth cannot be convinced, no matter how compelling your explanation or how proven your results. The difference between these groups is entirely internal, entirely about mindset and values and willingness to sacrifice present consumption for future security. Sophia's final wisdom is this: if you've discovered an investment approach that works for you, resist the temptation to become an evangelist. Share information when genuinely asked by genuinely ready people, but don't mistake polite interest for actual readiness to change behavior. Most importantly, don't let other people's choices affect your own consistency. Their skepticism doesn't make your strategy less effective. Their inaction doesn't require you to slow down. Build quietly, build consistently, and let your results speak for themselves to the tiny minority of people who are actually paying attention. The best investors aren't the ones with the most followers or the most students. They're the ones who figured out what works, implemented it faithfully, and had the discipline to ignore everything and everyone else. Sophia became one of those investors by learning when to stop talking and start doing. Silent growth wins not because secrecy is valuable, but because silence eliminates distraction, social friction, and the exhausting work of trying to change minds that aren't ready to change. This is Harper Mumbling, and if this story resonated with your experience of trying to help people who didn't really want help, or validated your decision to build wealth quietly without seeking external validation, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with the rare person who is genuinely ready to hear it. Leave a comment about whether you talk openly about your investing or prefer to build quietly, and what you've learned from either approach. Turn on notifications for future videos about the psychology of wealth building and why consistency beats cleverness. Thank you for watching, and remember, the best investment strategy is the one you execute faithfully while everyone else is still debating and discussing.